Hello there. Let's take a look at all the art that was in the headlines in July 2025. 100 life-size elephants invaded Beverly Hills Garden Park. This herd was placed along Santa Monica Boulevard from Rodeo Drive to Rexford Drive. Each was constructed using Montana wood by sculptors from India's Nilgiri Biosphere Reserve. These sculptures also serve to remind us to conserve our planet and its wildlife. Bristol Museum and Art Gallery raised over £100,000 for the G.M.W. Turner piece titled The Rising Squall. It was painted in 1792 when Turner was just 17. It was last shown in Tasmania in 1858 and was lost for over 150 years until Turner's signature was discovered. This painting, titled Venice, The Return of the Boat Shantonro on Ascension Day, recently sold for $43.7 million. It was previously owned by UK's first Prime Minister, Robert Walpole. 5 people bid on the work, but it was ultimately sold to an anonymous phone bidder. This sculpture, titled Lumen, was created by South African artist Daniel Popper and sits in the entrance to an apartment community. Vine-like elements extend 30 feet into the air at night. A variety of projections fill it with color. New technical analysis shows that a couple frescoes in the Vatican Museum's Hall of Constantine were painted by Raphael himself. Pope Julius II commissioned Raphael to paint 3 scenes from the life of the Roman Emperor Constantine. But after Raphael died in 1520, it was believed his 3 assistants completed his work. Raphael had a special technique of painting oil onto the wall, but his assistants were never able to master this technique. The presence of oil in some of these frescoes proved that it was in fact Raphael who painted them. The Prairie Agricultural Machinery Institute, located in the city of Humboldt in Canada, unveiled this new statue. It seeks to honor manufacturers who settled there. The Almaty Museum of Arts in Kazakhstan unveiled this 40-foot sculpture titled Nowadays by artist Joan Planza. She has 2 braids in the style of traditional Kazakh girls. My Wife's Lovers is a painting of 42 cats. Painter Carl Kahler was commissioned by San Francisco millionaire Kate Birdsall Johnson in 1891. Some say Johnson had 50 cats, and others say 300. Johnson's 40-room mansion had an entire floor reserved for these cats. Kahler spent 3 years living at her estate. He received $5,000, which is about $170,000 today. New research shows how Vermeer's painting The Street evolved over time. It was painted from 1658 to 1659 and depicts the street in his hometown of Delft. A stereo microscope allowed researchers to see the paint underneath. Initially, the door was painted closed, the women was by the alley's entrance, and the 2 children were absent. Pastoral motifs have found their way into contemporary art. This painting is by Emma Webster, entitled A Twig Snaps Underfoot. Webster found landscape painting to be too nostalgic and conservative, and sought to recreate it in a haunting way. Engineering graduates from California Polytechnic State University have installed stained glass butterflies onto 10-foot tall steel poppies in the children's garden of the San Luis Obispo Botanical Garden. The Portland Water Bureau began repairs to the Thompson Elk Fountain. The statue was removed after fires nearly toppled the structure. This part of Portland used to be a feeding ground for elks that came down from the western hills. The statue was installed in 1900, making it the 2nd oldest sculpture in the Portland area. Tamberlampi Pond in Finland displays a work called Dilemma, crafted by sculptor Maria Stereo. It is composed of broken ceramic dishes and tiles. Bill Thorpe Walking Bridge over the St. John River in Frederickstown has 30 monarch butterflies handmade by artist Gary Crosby. Each has a wingspan of about 2 feet. There has been a 90% decrease in monarch butterflies in Mexico during the past 30 years, and they are classified as an endangered species in most of Canada. Violet and Silver, The Deep Sea is a painting by James McNeill Whistler in 1893. Whistler was born in Massachusetts and traveled across Europe. Rakib Shah composed 21 panels that stretch 100 feet wide and serve as his autobiography. He was born in Kashmir and moved to New Delhi and then to London. This 73-foot-tall heart-shaped stainless steel sculpture stands in Port St. Lucie, Florida. Fra Bartolomeo's Holy Family was painted in 1497. It depicts the Virgin Mary, the Christ child supported by a plinth, and St. Joseph. St. Francis and St. Dominic embrace in the background. This piece was likely intended for a religious event. This painting, Polishing Pans, was painted by Marianne Stokes in 1887. She believes children ought to have a real childhood. It is included in Williamstown's Clark Art Institute exhibit titled The Room of One's Own. Simply Peonies is a series of oil paintings by peony farmer Jerry Martin. This particular piece is titled Sun-Kissed Peonies. Martin's farm is 1.5 acres and has over 5,000 plants. Downtown Dallas is home to 70 life-size Longhorn steel sculptures. None of these sculptures are exactly alike. They were cast at Eagle Bronze Foundry in Lander, Wyoming. They've been standing there since 1994. In the Angelus, a peasant couple digging Hears the Angelus Bell, the Catholic call to prayer, from a distant church and begin to pray. It was painted by Jean-François Millet from 1857 to 1859. It was popular in its day. Liberty is a 55-foot-tall sculpture in Aurora Highlands, Colorado by artist Michael Benzestein. It uses mirror-polished steel. The New Britain Museum of American Art purchased this landscape painting, titled Casterskill Clove, by a woman artist named Harriet Canny Peel. It depicts Casterskill Creek, which runs through the Catskill Mountains in New York. This installation is titled Iridescence and was created by Tony Broomhead and Nikki Kirk. It was the winning commission from an open call by the WWT Washington Wetland Center. It will be a highlight of the WWT Dragonfly Festival. This surfing sculpture by Bill Limbrook is included in the Pageant of the Masters in Laguna Beach, California. He grew up around surfing. This installation, titled Ever Blooming, is installed in the city of McKinney, Texas. It stands 20 feet high and features 3 types of flowers that are native to Texas: the poppy, the Indian paintbrush, and the primrose. The annual Highwaymen Heritage Trail Art Show and Festival in Fort Pierce, Florida, is a place to see the works of the Florida Highwaymen, a group of 26 black landscape artists in the 1950s who learned to paint from Alfred Hare and Harold Newton. Because they were barred from art galleries, they sold their paintings on the side of the road. This piece is of a purple jacaranda tree by Marianne Carroll, the only woman of the group. Studio Drift debuted its sculpture in Spain titled Meadow. It's an upside-down garden filled with robotic flowers. As sensors detect human presence, their blossoms open and close. They can also change color. The Caravaggio exhibit at Palazzo Barberini in Rome wasn't as popular as expected. This painting is titled St. Catherine of Alexandria. It was painted from 1598 to 1599. Artist Dan Llewellyn Hall has created 4 paintings of Britain's forests, which are on display at the Society of Antiquities in London. These forests were present during the signing of the Charter of the Forest, which is one of Britain's first environmental laws. This Vermeer painting, titled Woman Writing a Letter with Her Maid, tells us a lot. The Dutch people of the 17th century had a high literacy rate, and women wrote letters often. The maid here is shown supporting her mistress's life at the expense of her own.